Hi guys, my name's Steven, and today we're going to be covering testicular basics. And when it comes to testicular ultrasound in the emergency room, I think the one diagnosis that we're really worried about is torsion. So I'm going to go over the basics of testicular ultrasound and how it relates to diagnosing torsion. And I think all the other pathologies we'll cover in other videos. So first things first, probe selection. You're going to be using the linear probe for this exam, and that's just because the structures you're looking at are generally less than about 6 centimeters away from your probe, and you get a lot better resolution by using the linear probe. So the first view you're going to want to get is something that is called the buddy view. And so basically you put the probe down here at the bottom of the scrotum, and you're going to image up and get the two testicles adjacent to one another. And this brings us to another point that I think is kind of a reason that we don't do a lot of testicular ultrasound in the ED, and that's patient setup. So to set up to do the scan, I actually kind of take a towel and put it under the patient's scrotum, and then I put another towel on top that covers the penis and the majority of the scrotum, so that really there's only a small exposed area that the probe's in contact with, and that's definitely sufficient to do your ultrasound exam, and then you're comfortable and the patient's comfortable while you're doing that test. So here we have the buddy view side by side with an actual ultrasound image, and this image is inverted just to match the anatomy, but you see the scrotum down here at the bottom, and then you see the testicle 1 and testicle 2. On the side you can actually see the epididymis, but that's not really something you generally need to evaluate in basic testicular ultrasound. So looking at a clip of the buddy view, here we see that we have the scrotum up here now because the probe is actually touching the scrotum, and then the two testicles next to one another. The things you really want to look for in this view is basically the homogeneity or heterogeneity of the testicles. So they should be fairly homogeneous. We can see here this left testicle looks very homogeneous. There's not really any irregularities to it. While this right one over here, we do have that big irregularity right there that is different compared to the other side. And so that's kind of the first thing you want to notice with the buddy view. Are there any differences in echo texture from one testicle to the other? And if you do notice differences, that could represent some possible pathology. Now next, while you're in the buddy view, I like to do this. Put a color flow box over both testicles at the same time. And that's kind of for the same exact reason. You want to compare one side to the other, and this is an easy view to do it in. So here we can see that the right testicle in this image has a good amount of flow, while there's a concerning lack of flow in the left testicle. So this should really key you in, especially if the left testicle is the testicle of complaint. Hey, there could be something going on here that looks like it has to do with blood flow, i.e. torsion. So let's talk about evaluating the individual testicles. So the key here is going to be color flow if you're looking for torsion, right? So let's say this was the normal testicle. What you do is you go over to that normal testicle, you put a color flow box on it, and you calibrate that color flow so that you don't have a lot of extra noise when you're looking at the testicle that is supposedly normal. So the way you change the color flow is actually have the color flow box up and then adjust the gain. That adjusts how much color flow is on the image. So you can see when we move it, there's some noise up here at the beginning of this clip. And if you have too much color flow gain, your whole clip is kind of going to look like that. But you can see within the testicle here, this is a good normal vascular appearing flow. So once we have it calibrated to the appropriate gain on that normal testicle, you're going to move over and image the testicle in question for torsion. So when we move over here, you can see that this testicle has basically no flow. And you can also notice that the sonographer here has cranked up the color gain a lot because there was no flow. And you see all this extra noise over here in the tissue that is obviously meaningless. And there's still no flow in the testicle. So that's very concerning. And here you notice also there's this reactive hydrocele. And a hydrocele is basically just some fluid in there. And that's another sign of torsion. We'll just mention this briefly, but you may also see something like this, which is increased color flow in one testicle compared to the other. And that can be a sign of something called orchitis. And like I said, it's not really something that you need to diagnose in the ED. Torsion is what we're really worried about. So the take-home point that I want you guys to remember for testicular ultrasound is that diagnosing absence of flow in the testicle is very easy. And this should be something that I think all of us are comfortable doing at bedside. If you do see flow in there, then basically the patient is still going to need a workup because there are more subtle findings of torsion that you probably missed. And there's other pathologies, obviously, that need to be diagnosed. So if you do see flow, the patient should go for a formal radiology testicular scan. Now, if you don't see flow, they should probably still get a formal scan, but this is the situation where I would call urology immediately. If you're at a center, you have to transfer the patient, start organizing the transfer immediately, because you've already seen lack of flow in that testicle, and you were able to make that diagnosis at the bedside immediately, rather than waiting potentially 45 minutes to an hour to get a radiology scan that confirmed there's no flow in that testicle. So really, when it comes to testicles, let's focus on torsion as our basic diagnosis. And then if you guys are interested in learning some advanced diagnostic stuff, we'll make some more videos on that. Thanks, everybody.